In the Quiet They Remain, by Griz Calderon. In the quiet they remain. The smell came before anything else. Warm wax from candles, sweet bread cooling on the table, and the sharp, almost bitter scent of marigold petals scattered across the floor. Gertrude remembered it from when she was small, no more than 6. Dark hair that curled softly at the ends, wide brown eyes that watched everything, trying to understand a world that did not ask her to. Her mother would tie her hair back with a ribbon, smoothing it gently, while her father carried in bundles of flowers the color of the sun. "Gertie," they would say, smiling as they worked. "This is how we welcome them home." She did not understand who they were, but she never felt afraid. The house would change as the days grew closer. Tables cleared, cloths laid down, photographs brought out from drawers and boxes, each one handled with care. Faces she had never met stared back at her, yet they were spoken of as if they had only stepped outside for a moment. Her grandmother guided her small hands. "This is for your great-grandfather," she would say, placing a cup. "He liked his coffee strong." "And this," her mother would add, setting fruit beside it, "is for your aunt. She loved these." Gertie would nod, serious in her task. She placed the sugar skulls carefully, sometimes crooked, sometimes too close together, but always with intention. She liked the colors best: bright pinks, blues, yellows. They did not look like anything meant to frighten. Outside, her father lined the path with petals, a trail of gold from the gate to the door. "So they can find their way," he told her. At night, they walked to the cemetery. Gertie held her mother's hand, her small fingers wrapped tight as they moved among the graves. Candles flickered everywhere. People laughed. They sang. Some cried, but even the tears felt gentle, like something aloud. She sat near the headstones while her family spoke to those buried beneath them. Stories were told. Laughter returned. Names were spoken. And Gertie watched. She saw something the others did not. A figure that moved quietly among them. Not hidden, but not noticed. Tall. Still. Present in a way that felt familiar. He did not disturb the air or bring fear into the night. He simply was. She did not know his name, but when he passed near her, she felt calm. The same calm she felt standing before the altar. On that night, when candles burned longest and marigolds covered the ground, he did something he did not do on any other day. He allowed them to return. The souls he carried did not belong to him. He carried their stories, their final moments, their lives as they had been lived. But on this night, Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, he brought them back to where they were remembered. He watched as they stood beside their families, unseen, unheard, but there. And in those quiet moments, when laughter rose or a name was spoken, something passed between them. Not words, not touch, but something that remained. Gertie felt it. She would turn suddenly, certain someone stood behind her, her brow tightening as her eyes searched. "Do you see them?" she once asked her grandmother. Her grandmother smiled, brushing a hand along her cheek. "We feel them," she said. That was enough. Years passed, and Gertie grew. Her dark hair grew long, thick, and strong, often braided neatly as she worked beside her family. Her face changed from that of a child into that of a young woman, but her eyes remained the same, watching and understanding more with each passing year. They called her Gertie then, but to those who came later, she would become abuelita, grandmother, a name spoken with warmth, love, and belonging. Each year, without fail, she carried forward what had been given to her, not as something to fear, but as something to honor. The first time she felt him outside of that night was when her grandmother passed. Gertrude sat beside her, her hands steady, the room quiet, the air still. And there he was, not hidden, not frightening, standing where the light met the floor. She did not speak. She did not need to. The same calm settled over her. Her grandmother was gone, but not lost. Life moved forward, as it always does. Gertrude married. She laughed. She worked. Her hands grew strong, her skin warmed by the sun, her body shaped by years of labor and care. She built a life of her own. Her home was small, an adobe house with one bedroom and a modest kitchen space. Inside, a wood-burning oven was built into the wall, where she cooked meals that filled the home with warmth. There was no bathroom inside, only an outhouse set a short distance away. The cornfields stretched behind her home, tall and golden, whispering in the wind. Fruit trees lined the yard, including pomegranate trees that bent under the weight of their fruit. Cactuses grew along the fence, strong and steady, marking the edge of her land. Chickens wandered freely, their soft clucks filling the mornings. Rabbits rested nearby, pets she cared for gently. A horse and a mule stood by her side as she worked, steady companions through long days. When she traveled, she went by horse and carriage, moving at the pace she had always known. Water was not something that came easily. Clothes were washed by hand at the river. She walked there often, sometimes alone, sometimes with her daughters, sharing quiet moments shaped by routine and care. And always there was her voice. She sang as she worked. Soft songs that stayed, returning years later and bringing her back in an instant. She had children. She held them close and taught them what she had been taught. "Say their names," she would tell them. "They are listening." Every year, the table was never empty. The candles were always lit. As the years passed, her children grew and began to build lives of their own. And then, the house filled again. Her grandchildren came and brought life back into the space. They ran through the cornfields, their laughter carried by the wind. They gathered near her as she cooked, watching her hands, learning without needing to be told. She showed them how to care, how to prepare, how to live from what the land gave. She taught by doing, by living. And when the day grew quiet, she would sing. Those songs stayed with them, long after the fields, long after the house, long after time had moved forward. Then her parents passed. One, and then the other. Each time he was there, the reaper. She knew him now, not by name, but by presence. She never feared him. When her husband passed, the silence settled deeper. Her hair, still dark and full, now carried strands of gray. She wore it as she always had, parted and braided into two long braids that rested over her shoulders. Her face showed the years, the work, the love, the loss. She was small, but there was strength in her that never faded. She continued. The farm, the animals, the land. There were seasons when the earth gave less, times when she had to take from what she had raised. She did so with care and respect, never more than needed, always with quiet gratitude. Her children grew and left. The house grew still. The Day of the Dead became quieter. Fewer candles, fewer voices. But she never stopped. She set the table. She laid the petals. She spoke the names. And he came, not to take, only to stand among the memories. When her time came, it came quietly. Her body rested in her home that night, just as it had always been done. Family gathered around her, sitting, speaking softly, remembering. The reaper stood among them, as he always had. And she stood beside him, watching, at peace. Her body was dressed with care, a black dress, a lace shawl draped gently over her head, praying beads placed in her hands. By morning, they carried her, not in a vehicle, but on foot, step by step, through the land she had lived on, loved, and worked. Family walked beside her, behind her, around her. No one rushed. No one turned away. The reaper walked with them, as they honored her, as they had always honored those before her. He had known this moment would come. He had known her since she was a child, standing among candles, watching without fear. He stepped forward. Gertrude opened her eyes. She did not speak. The same calm settled over her. It was time. A thought passed through her. Would she be remembered? The candles had grown fewer, the voices quieter. Would she fade? He answered her, not with words, but with knowing. Days of remembrance matter, the altars, the candles, the stories spoken aloud. But they are not the only place a soul remains. She was not just a name on a stone, not just a name written somewhere to be forgotten. She had lived, she had loved, she had shaped the lives of others. And those things remain. In the way her daughters remembered her hands guiding theirs, in the way her grandchildren spoke her name in quiet moments, in everyday conversation, in the stories they continued to share. She had not been forgotten. She had been lived, and she continued to live in them. Gertrude stood. She did not look back. There was no need. As he guided her forward, the world softened behind her. Not gone, changing. And somewhere, a name was spoken. Gertrude, Abuelita. And in that moment, she was there. Not seen, not heard, but remembered. And the reaper carried her still, as he always would. The end.